Let's see, where should we go this year? How about Paris? That was the first place I documented right here on YouTube, and I would love to re-document it again, this time with crispy 4K footage. But on second thought, I think I would really love to go somewhere new. How about Dubai, home to the world's tallest building? I've always wanted to see the top of the world. Although I don't think going to the middle of the desert sounds like the best idea, especially in the summer. I feel like the second I step off the plane, I might just spontaneously combust. Oh, I know. How about Singapore? I've always wanted to go to Singapore. It's one of the world's smallest countries, but it's got such a unique and fascinating culture, and the food scene there looks amazing. You know what? Let's do it. A trip to Singapore would be my absolute dream vacation. Although Singapore seems like a really long way to go, I mean, Singapore is literally about as far as I can go here from California. I mean, it's on the other side of the world. It would be really nice to stop maybe in another country in Asia on the way there, just to break up the trip a little. How about Taipei, Taiwan? I've always wanted to experience a late night Taiwanese night market. Or how about Seoul, South Korea? I've always wanted to go to Korea and check out the seafood market where you can go and pick out your own seafood and have it cooked fresh right in front of you. And then there's Japan. I've been to Japan 3 times in the past, and I visited the past 2 years in a row. However, this would be my 4th time visiting Japan and my 3rd year in a row visiting. Oh, that would be crazy. Certainly I won't go back to Japan again. Certainly I wouldn't go back again this year. Hello everyone, in case that intro has got you confused, I'm going to be heading to Singapore for 1 week, and on my way there, I'll be spending 1 week in Japan. Today I thought I'd give you a sneak peek on some of the things I plan to do on this absolute dream vacation, so without further ado, let's get started. To start off the trip, I'll be flying Singapore Airlines business class from Los Angeles to Tokyo, and that is something I'm really looking forward to because Singapore Airlines is always either the top rated airline in the world or the 2nd highest rated airline in the world, and the business class flight is always special. So obviously that's going to be the first video of the series, and make sure to stay tuned for that to see how I booked that incredible business class flight, and I'm also obviously going to share the entire flight experience with you all. I'll be landing at Tokyo's Narita Airport as per usual, and then taking the 1-hour train ride into the city to my hotel. I'll be staying at the Hotel New Otani, which is an old classic hotel in Tokyo. It's been around since the 1960s, and it was actually the first hotel I ever stayed at when I visited Japan for the first time in 2016. I have a feeling that staying there is really going to bring back some memories and nostalgia, so I'm really looking forward to just experiencing the magic of staying there. Once I get to the hotel, it's going to be pretty late at night since my flight lands in the evening, so hopefully I can find a really late dinner somewhere nearby my hotel. The next day will be my first full day in Japan, and no, contrary to what you think, I will not be spending the day in Tokyo. I'm actually planning to take a day trip to Kawagoe. Kawagoe is an old traditional town that's around 45 minutes away from Tokyo, and it's often known as Japan's Little Kyoto. They have stuff like a temple and maybe a few shrines, and they're also known for their old-fashioned sort of street food scene there. I already know I'm gonna have a great time there just exploring the little traditional streets, seeing all the beautiful architecture of the older style of buildings, as well as just enjoying a lot of traditional Japanese street foods. Hopefully it's not too ambitious to do a day trip the first full day of my vacation, but hopefully everything just goes according to plan. The next day I'll be taking another day trip, this time to Kamakura, which is one of the most popular day trips from Tokyo, and is only about an hour's train ride away. The most famous sight to see in Kamakura is this ginormous Buddha statue, which is just really impressive, and apparently it's like a super special sight in Japan, and I've always wanted to see it. Kamakura is also famous for this huge shrine called Hachimangu Shrine, and apparently it's a big attraction, so I definitely want to check that out as well. I also heard that they have a mini bamboo forest in Kamakura, sort of like what Kyoto is famous for, so I would love to see that as well, but who knows if I can actually do everything I set out to do in Kamakura, since everything is really spread out and it just takes a while to get around. So we'll see. I'm just gonna try to do as much as I possibly can in the 1 day that I have in Kamakura. The next day I'll actually be checking out of my first hotel in Tokyo, and then I'll be moving to my second hotel in Tokyo, which is the Gate Hotel, which I stayed at just a couple of years ago, and it was a great experience. Okay, I'll be honest, the main reason I'm heading back to the Gate Hotel is because they got a fantastic breakfast buffet. I mean, they have things like made-to-order eggs as well as freshly baked bread, and they even have a huge slice of honeycomb that you can just scoop and eat with all of your bread and pastries. Anyways, I got a little sidetracked just because I got so excited about the Gate Hotel, but moving on, after I just quickly check into the hotel and drop my stuff out, I just want to get out and explore the rest of the city of Tokyo because that's going to be my first full day I really just get to explore Tokyo on this trip. For lunch that day, I finally want to try my first Wagyu burger in Japan because I've heard so much about the famous Wagyu burgers in Japan and I've just never gotten around to trying it, so I think I'm finally going to find a spot and try a Wagyu burger for the first time. The afternoon is the part that I'm really excited about because I have a reservation at Lost Bar. Lost Bar was opened in August of last year by my favorite YouTuber of all time, Chris Broad of Abroad in Japan. The bar just has a really cool Abroad in Japan theme, and true fans of the channel like myself will just recognize all the subtle little details that they've added to make it feel like a true Abroad in Japan bar. And yes, believe it or not, I will actually be able to visit the bar because typically in Japan, most bars you have to be 20 to enter, which is the drinking age. I'll still be 19 at the time that I'm visiting. However, he said that at his bar, he'll let people come in that are under the age of 20 as long as they don't drink any of the alcoholic drinks. And they do have a pretty wide selection of mocktails, which I'm really looking forward to trying out. The day after that, I have another exciting day planned. I'm going to be checking out Tokyo Tower finally. It's just one of those classic over-the-top tourist attractions in Tokyo that I still haven't made it to. And again, I always love going to the top of tall towers or buildings, so I feel like that's just going to be right up my alley. That night, I have a crazy reservation. I made reservations at a restaurant where you can get Wagyu yakiniku. And for those of you who don't know, yakiniku is Japanese barbecue. So basically the way it works is they give you slices of thinly sliced raw beef, and then you can just grill it over a nice, beautiful, fiery grill right at your table. And because that restaurant only serves A5 Wagyu, I know it's going to be a really special and luxurious treat. The following day after that, I'm going to see if I can meet up with my friend Sayo, who actually visited last year when she lived in Yokohama, but she recently moved to Tokyo, so it'll be really nice to hopefully catch up with her. The day after that will be my last full day in Japan, so I wanted to keep it pretty open. However, I will be heading back to Shirohige's Cream Puff shop, which I visited 2 years ago. Shirohige's is famous for their Totoro-shaped cream puffs, which surprisingly are actually really tasty. I mean, I would argue they actually taste even better than they look, which I think is quite impressive. That night I will be switching hotels just one more time, and I'll be going to the Hotel Villa Fontaine, which is located inside of Haneda Airport. And I think that is just crazy, because last year when I was transiting to Haneda Airport, I saw the Hotel Villa Fontaine, and it actually looks surprisingly nice. And that is basically how I'm planning to spend my 1 week in Japan. Obviously some things will change as everything's not set in stone yet, but hopefully that just gives you an idea of some of the things to look forward to. Now keep in mind, this will just be the first half of my dream vacation, as the next day I'll be leaving to go to Singapore, and I'll be flying premium economy on Singapore Airlines from Tokyo to Singapore. Of course I'll be documenting that flight as well, and boy, when I arrive, I certainly will have the time of my life when I'm in Singapore. I'll be flying into Singapore's Changi Airport, which is known as the world's best airport. More on that later. Then I'll be heading to my first hotel, which is the original Shangri-La, which is the first Shangri-La that started the whole brand. For the last few years, I've been pretty curious about staying in the Shangri-La Hotel since it's a really fancy and luxurious brand, and they actually have a location in Tokyo, which is another one of their flagship locations. However, when I've checked the prices, they're just ridiculous and way too expensive. However, surprisingly, I found a rate in Singapore that was actually alright, and I'm excited because their original location, again, is one of their main flagship locations, so I'm just guessing that means it's going to be more premium and just the best Shangri-La experience that you can really get. But obviously, I'm not just visiting Singapore to soak in the luxurious hotels. I mean, that would just be silly and a waste of my time to only do that. So after I check into the Shangri-La, I'm going to be heading off to dinner at a hawker center. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Singapore, you probably have no idea what a hawker center is, so let me explain. So basically, a hawker center is like a congregation of street food stalls that are all side by side, basically outdoors with a little bit of a covered roof. Really, the reason for the creation of hawker centers was because of the Singaporean government. Back in the olden days, they had a lot of street food stalls just randomly sprinkled throughout the streets in Singapore, and unfortunately, they were not necessarily the most clean, so the Singaporean government wanted to come in and make sure everyone could enjoy street food in a safe and hygiene way. So they basically made all the street food vendors head in to these little separate hawker centers, and basically they were these areas set up by the government so they could monitor all the different stalls and make sure everyone had the proper food safety and food handling. The creation of hawker centers has led to very affordable prices as well as high quality cooking, and some of the stalls have even earned the prestigious Michelin Bib Gourmand Award. And now back to my first night in Singapore. So after I enjoy dinner at a hawker center, I plan to head to the Marina Bay Sands, which is the most famous hotel in Singapore, which is that iconic sort of sailboat shaped hotel that's right next to the bay. Right in front of the hotel, they have a nighttime water and light show, which I think will be a great way to cap off my first epic night in Singapore. The next day, I'm thinking about visiting Chinatown because they got some more amazing hawker centers there, and they have one hawker center that I'm really curious about actually. And then after spending the morning in Chinatown, I want to head to the Gardens by the Bay area in Singapore for the whole afternoon. Gardens by the Bay is just this huge tourist attraction, which once again was coincidentally created by the Singaporean government. Gardens by the Bay is famous for their outdoor super trees, which are basically like these man-made metal trees filled with lights, and it's just such a scenic sight, especially at nighttime. And again, more on that later. As far as my afternoon goes at Gardens by the Bay, I want to explore a couple of their large greenhouse domes, which are just filled with plants and flowers, so I feel like that'll just be a really nice chill afternoon just to explore and kind of walk around a bit. I'll be ending my night back at the Super Trees for their nighttime light show, which I've heard is really famous and is one of the top things to see in Singapore. And just like that, that'll be my first full day in Singapore. The next day, I'll be heading to the Singapore Zoo, and I know I don't go to a lot of zoos. However, I've heard that the Singapore Zoo is a must-visit since it's known for being one of the top zoos in the entire world. It is a huge zoo with a wide variety of animals, and I've heard that their exhibits are really nice where you can get really clear views of all the different animals at the zoo. I'm really excited for the night because as soon as the sun goes down, there's another zoo right next to the Singapore Zoo, which is the Singapore Night Zoo, which is a nocturnal zoo full of nocturnal animals. The Singapore Night Zoo was the world's first nocturnal zoo, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it because it's going to be my first time really seeing all these different nocturnal animals that most of us would never get to see during the day. So yeah, I know this is definitely going to be a different style day for me, and I'm still going to try to record and document my experience. However, I think going to the zoo is definitely going to be a highlight of my trip since it just seems so unique and really special to Singapore. The next morning, I'll be checking into my final hotel of the trip, which is the Four Seasons. And I know what you're thinking, that just seems ridiculous. Why would I be staying at the Four Seasons? Well, surprisingly, I was able to find a rate that was actually surprisingly okay. Yes, it was still pretty pricey, but as far as Four Seasons go, it was definitely more reasonable than pretty much the rest of them. After checking into the hotel, I want to get lunch again at a hawker center, and I found a hawker center with one really unique dish that I'm looking forward to trying. For dinner, I have reservations at a specialty Peranakan restaurant, and Peranakan food is a really unique cuisine as it was started by early Chinese migrants that moved to Singapore, so it's really just like a blend of unique flavors, and it's basically like a whole nother cuisine that I've never even seen before. This restaurant I'm heading to for Peranakan food is on the Michelin Bib Gourmand guide, and one of their signature dishes uses this nut that if it prepared incorrectly can actually poison you, but since they have a Michelin Bib Gourmand award, I know that I'll be just safe eating it, and these are the things that I live for in life, just for these thrilling food experiences. So I think it's safe to say that this exciting day of eating will hopefully make up for the lack of interesting food that I have the previous day at the zoo. The next day, I have another packed day full of fun food and awesome activities. I'll be starting the morning by exploring Little India, which is one of Singapore's most vibrant and beautiful neighborhoods. Then in the afternoon, I'll be enjoying afternoon tea at the Raffles Hotel, which is known for being the oldest hotel in Singapore and also the most expensive hotel in Singapore. So I think it'll be a really cool experience because I know the decor and the whole vibe and atmosphere of the afternoon tea experience is going to be very Singaporean and very unique. And for dinner, I'm gonna try to knock out 2 of Singapore's iconic seafood dishes. I'm gonna be going to the restaurant that created the Singaporean black pepper crab, which is basically like this local mud crab that is covered in a sweet and savory black pepper sauce. And then I also want to try their chili crab, which is the same local crab, just covered in a sweet and tangy chili sauce. The next day will be my last full day, at least in the city of Singapore. You'll see what I mean later. To be honest, I'm still debating on what I want to do for my last full day in Singapore. I was thinking about checking out Sentosa Island, which is a small island that's connected to the city. It's full of all these crazy tourist attractions, and if you hike to the top, you can see a really beautiful view of the city of Singapore. However, I've heard from some people that it's a tourist trap, and then I've heard from others that it's a really amazing getaway, at least from some of the hustle and bustle of Singapore, so I'm not really sure if I actually want to do that yet or not, but we'll see. That night I have something really special planned, so I'm just gonna leave it a little up in the air and it'll just be a little surprise, so you'll have to stay tuned for that. And that'll basically be the end of my last full day in Singapore. The next morning, I will sadly be leaving the city and I will be heading to the airport, which is Singapore's Changi Airport, and it's known for being the world's best airport, so I'm going to spend almost a full day there since my flight leaves around 8 p.m. that night. I do want to spend a significant amount of time at the Jewel, which is basically their airport mall, which isn't directly in the airport, but it's basically connected to the airport. Their main attraction there is the Vortex, which is the world's tallest indoor waterfall, which I think is kind of crazy. After I spend a significant portion of the day exploring the Jewel, I want to head into actually some of the terminals where they have some really unique exhibits. In Terminal 3, they have the world's tallest airport slide, which is a giant playground slide, and apparently you don't have to be a kid to ride it, so I'm definitely going to try to check that out. Also, in Terminal 3, they have an indoor butterfly garden, which I think is pretty crazy, and honestly, I can't keep track of all the other attractions they have in Terminals 1 and 2, because really, there's just so much to see at Singapore's Changi Airport, even once you leave the Jewel. And actually, one of the craziest things about my trip to Singapore is the end of my trip, because I will be flying 15.5 hours back to San Francisco, and I will be doing it in Singapore Airlines business class, so definitely stay tuned for that, because that is going to be one epic video, because I've always dreamed of flying long-haul international business class, and this is ultra long-haul international business class, so I know it's going to be really special, and you definitely got to stay tuned to figure out how I managed to pull this off. And just like that, that will be the end of my insane 2-week dream vacation. Unfortunately, because I'm on this crazy 2-week long trip and then I'll be editing afterwards, I may miss a couple of uploads. Next week, there'll be one more video, and then I might be missing for maybe 2 weeks or so. However, I'm gonna do my best to make sure that these travel videos make up for my lack of uploads. Anyways, I really hope you're all excited about this trip as I am, and I'm really looking forward to bringing you along with me to experience the beauty of Japan and Singapore. As always, I really hope you all enjoyed the video. Make sure if you did to give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe. And now, I got a flight to catch.